is.
And you know what? You know who's a roaster who rocks with us?
It is a lifestyle.
And we love the way he roasted some columnists out here in San Francisco. The guy who comes in second place all the time. Our boy Benjamin Allbright.
What's up,
been way
man?
too long. Big Ben in the building, baby. Courtesy of the Boxer Girls and Guest Line. KOA Radio in Denver does a great job covering the Broncos and the entire NFL. He's tapped in. He's on a heater. Benjamin, man, long time no talk. How you doing, brother?
Way too long no talk. And look, you know, as long as I'm out here roasting Michael Braun's medal, it's like I got to roast myself a little bit too. You know, last time we talked, I said I wasn't sure Brock Purdy was the guy to put a team on his shoulders. And I think he sure enough did that in that last game. So I got to take a hit for myself. I got to sit one down and put the microphone aside for a second.
Hey, listen, you're not the only one. We're out here in the Bay Area. We didn't know Brock Purdy had what it took to take a team on his shoulders, put them on their shoulders. He did it back-to-back weeks. And so your thoughts on that game, as you're watching that game at halftime, what was going on through your mind watching it from afar out there in Colorado?
Well, I mean, I was surprised the Lions jumped out to the big lead they did, and that's the book on San Francisco. Make them play from behind, and that's really your kind of shot at beating them, make them one-dimensional. But, you know, I think the lack of playoff experience kind of hurt the Lions quite a bit. You only had seven total games, I think, playoff experience on that entire roster versus, of course, the Niners, and you guys have tons. And I think that kind of bit them a little bit. I think they got a case of the tight cheeks in the second half. Then we watched it kind of implode a little bit with play and decision-making, and you know, the team that had been there before showed they'd been there before, dug deep and pulled it out.
You're at the Senior Bowl right now?
Yeah, I apologize for the background noise. I'm walking back to my hotel room.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Like, the Brock discourse, we're inside the bubble, right? We're inside the Bay Area, and, you know, he's everybody's favorite hero. You know, he's the great Disney story. It's almost... even if I told you this was a real story, most people would say you're insulting my intelligence. From the outside looking at all of the national rhetoric, the narratives, all that stuff, and how Niner fans defend him, just what's your 1,000-foot view or mile-high view of Brock Purdy?
Well, I'm at sea level right now in Mobile, and I'm seeing it on the level, and that is that Brock Purdy is, you know, what he is. He is an NFL starter. He's more than a game manager. You know, he is a guy that, within the confines of the Shanahan system, finds ways to excel as well. And, you know, I think we undersold him, a guy. It's interesting to go back and look, and, you know, he was benched a few times at Iowa State. I think it's a testament to, if you believe in somebody and you stick with them long enough and give them enough opportunities, they might have the opportunity to grow into what you envision for them.
Benjamin Allbright here on the Boxing Girls and Guest Line on the Morning Roast with Shasky and Bonte. Ben, what did you think about Dan Campbell's decision to go for it on fourth down? Because I know that's what the Lions do. A lot of people were questioning his moves. I had no problem with the first one. Josh Reynolds flat out dropped it. But what do you think about his coaching style there in that second half for the Lions?
I think Dan Campbell stayed true to who he is. Yeah. You know, I have no problem with that. I mean, dance with the one that brung you, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I find it interesting as I look around the commentary around the league. It's the same people that were making fun of the hire of Dan Campbell in the first place, the same people who were lambasting him and calling him a meathead and making fun of the ankle bite. And you're the same people that are criticizing the decisions. You know, at the end of the day, he got to the NFC Championship game. Who are you to question it? Yeah. So I think he knows his roster better than anybody else. The Lions were 83% on 4th and 3 or shorter over the course of the year. If Reynolds catches it, we're not even having this discussion. I think the call was the right call. I think they didn't execute.
Yeah, look, I'm writing down storylines for next week. Mahomes versus Purdy, obviously the first-round draft pick, maybe the greatest quarterback ever against Mr. Irrelevant. Andy Reid versus the old Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, a guy who can't win the big one. Kittle versus Kelsey. I mean, Spags and Wilkes. Revenge game for the Niners. What's your favorite of all? And you might take something off the board here that I didn't even reference. What's your favorite storyline going into next week?
Well, my favorite storyline going into these playoffs was Pat Mahomes can't win on the road, and that's, you know, obviously, stupid and over with now. We're winning on the road in the playoffs anyway. He's had the advantage of winning at home and all this, so that's out the window. I think, you know, the Brock Purdy game manager nonsense, you know, that's finally out the window. I think people are done with that. You know, my favorite is just two great football teams squaring off against each other. I don't need extra juice for this one. This is two of the best teams in football squaring off. You got a great offensive mastermind on both sides of the ball. You've got great defensive masterminds on both sides of the ball. There's not an area here where either one of these teams has a glaring deficiency like the Lions did in their secondary. You know, these are just two good football teams. I've already seen some good football at a Super Bowl. I don't want to see a blowout. I want to see a contested matchup. And I think the minds of Kyle Shanahan and the mind of Andy Reid, we're in for some football greatness with this one.
No, I think so too, Ben. But, you know, you saw obviously you saw the Chiefs twice out there in Denver, and the Denver Broncos beat them one time in Denver, of course, 24-9. They played them tough on Thursday Night Football at Arrowhead Stadium. So are you a little surprised that the Niners are the early betting favorites? Should they be the favorites in this game? I know it's a small spread. Well, the Niners -2. It's jumped around a little bit early in the week, but should they be the betting favorites over Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs?
That I don't know. I would put the line 2 points the other direction, but I'm not mad at it.
Right.
The thing about Kansas City is there is a book on how to beat that offense this year. You press those guys on the outside. The receiving core they have this year isn't as good. They don't get open as well. You got to double up Kelsey. If you can shut Kelsey down and press him on the outside, you got a real chance. It's interesting to me that this is being billed, though, as Pat Mahomes versus Brock Purdy and Andy Reid versus Kyle Shanahan, when I think the key matchup here is going to be Christian McCaffrey versus Isaiah Pacheco. Whoever can get the ground game going against the other team is going to make their team a lot better.
Oh, I like that storyline. I'm writing that down.
There you go. That's good. With Chris Jones, Nick Bosa, of course. Chris Jones having an all-time. Spagnolia, is he going to get a head coaching job? I know he's older. He's in his 60s. But the run he's had at D coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs has been unbelievable. And we know about those great New York Giants teams that beat the Patriots, 18-0 Patriots, beat them again in 2011. Steve Spagnuolo, I don't hear his name at all when it comes to the Seahawks job or the Commanders job. What are you hearing about Spagnuolo? Is he going to just be a lifer as a DC in Kansas City?
He's not going to get a job this cycle. I know that. Beyond that, I don't know. It's a question of whether or not he wants to get back into that realm. I think he's pretty maxed out as a defensive coordinator. I don't think he's, really head coach material, if you know what I mean. It's a different skill set, and I just don't know that he A, wants that, and B, is really cut out for it. I mean, you go back and look at his tenure as a head coach with was it the Rams, and it was disaster. I mean, they had some of the worst teams you've ever seen. They turned to what was the savior there? Jeff Fisher. You turn to Jeff Fisher as the savior. That's the step up. So it was, I don't know that he's going to get another head coaching job. And some of these guys, you get a taste of that, and you realize that's not what you want. You like being a coordinator. And you saw Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick both go back to their respective teams because they're young and they like being a coordinator. We've seen Jim Schwartz pass on interviews because he's done the head coaching thing and he likes being a D coordinator. So I'm not sure that he wants that anymore.
It is kind of wild. No one is even questioning Super Bowl in Vegas. Like, if I would have said that 15 years ago, their heads would have exploded. The Super Bowl is going to be in Las Vegas at a brand new NFL stadium. I don't know. I feel like this week's going to be insane.
Yeah, you say 15 years ago. Shoot, 5 years ago might have been a heads exploding thing. I'm proud out here in Colorado. We led the country on Mary Jane. We led the country on sports gambling, and I'm proud of that. I'm a partaker in both. I won't lie to you, but I think that I think end of the day, I think if you could find a way. And they've tried to do a good job. If you could find a way to make sure that the integrity of the game isn't compromised, you don't have guys, then I don't have a problem with it. Sports gambling keeps people more engaged. It does. Especially in blowouts or meaningless games. So I don't have a problem with it. If you don't like it, don't gamble.
Yeah, no, I'm with the team totals, quarter bets, prop bets, you name it, man. We're both cut from the same cloth on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to the Mary Jane and, of course, the sports gambling. Big Ben, will you be out there in Vegas? What's your deal after the Senior Bowl?
I think so. We're I gotta check in with my PD and all that kind of stuff, but we're 99% we're going to be out there. So,
nice. Real quick, I know Michael Penix was down there throwing. We do have an NFL draft coming up in a few months. Penix, what are scouts saying around him, because he did not look good against Michigan? He got beat up a little bit, got some happy feet when that pocket got muddied up. I could hear your expression there when it came to Penix. Why'd you do that, Ben?
If you're Penix fans, I got some probably bad news for you. He's not looked too hot out here so far, and for everybody I've talked to, it thinks the league is significantly lower on Penix than fans and media. You go back, you look at the tape, and they were often beaten up on teams they were just more talented than. They had great receivers on the outside. Penix doesn't really throw the ball in between the numbers, and you need that to survive in the NFL. And then when he got pressured, man, he just wilted. He was a guy. You talked about those feet. That happened. He just didn't know what to do with the ball. If the first read wasn't there or something wasn't open to get it out quick, when it took time for him to sit there and make decisions over the field and on an extended play, his internal clock was more like a sundial, and it wasn't happy. So I would suggest that he's probably a day 2 pick, second, third round kind of guy. He's going to be drafted behind the big three, Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, see, I want that, and it's one game, so I'm not going to hold his whole career against him. But I saw Bo Nix and Penix play each other in the Pac-12 championship, and I thought Bo Nix didn't see the field at all and was not accurate at all. It was a bad game for him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you there. I think I think Nix is a little bit closer to maybe a Derek Carr than people want to admit. He's kind of a guy that, he can be a serviceable starter in this league, but it's mostly going to be dump down type stuff. And when you need him to carry you, I'm not sure that he can push the ball and, without a talent advantage like he had at Oregon. So I'm with you on that.
Harbaugh in the division now with the Chargers. Before we get you out of here, now you got a stacked division. You got Sean Payton out there where you're at. Andy Reid, of course, at Kansas City. Now Antonio Pierce with the Raiders, of course, and they all bought into him. Jim Harbaugh now with the Chargers, man. He's coming to the AFC West, man.
Oh, we're sunk. We're not winning anything until both those guys retire. Heck, we can't even beat Antonio Pierce and Josh McDaniels last year. So, as far as that kind of stuff goes, you got superior coaches out there. Sean Payton, that offense he wanted to run. I mean, he hamstrung Russ Wilson. You look at the offense he tried to run with Russ. The Broncos were 29th and 31st in scoring in the second, third quarters. Then they let Russ cook in the fourth, and they're number one in the NFL by a wide margin. Russ leads the NFL in game-winning drives, fourth quarter comebacks, and you bench him for Jarrett Stidham. So I don't know what we're doing here, but I know we aren't winning anytime soon, especially with those two in the division.
All right, Ben. Wow, hot fire there. This is why we love you, man. This is why you always have a gold medal on this show. Benjamin Allbright, KOA Radio in Denver, down there in Mobile, Alabama, for the Senior Bowl, giving us his thoughts on the Super Bowl matchup. Ben, we won't make it this too long. We'll make sure we catch up with you very, very soon.
Absolutely. Roastmaster General out.
There it is.
Love it. This guy, he is sharp.
Master General out.